Sir, how are you?
ঢুকে যাবো তো খুঁজে বের করে
আর ইয়ে পুরোটা আবার অন্য লোক দেখা যাবে না।
এটা আপনার চেহারা স্পষ্ট দেখা যাবে।
ওকে ফাইন। এই শোনো, আমি যদি এই ইয়েটা পুরো ইয়েটা আনতে চাই একদম এই পর্যন্ত, তাহলে এইখানে আচ্ছা এটা তো হ্যাঁ, এখন আবার অন্য রাজ্য লেগেছে
আবার আসসালামু আলাইকুম স্যার।
ওয়ালাইকুম।
এই টিপ পারবো
Hello, Michael Rossler.
Yes, hello. Nice to see you. Hello.
Yeah, nice to see you. Yeah. I am Shadon.
Oh, hi.
Yes.
Great.
Hello.
Great.
Hi.
Fine. Great to see you. Well, who's at the other end of the email then?
yeah. This is the first time we are meeting. And Tina is also here.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello. Alaikum. Alaikum. দেখা যায় শাহিন, দেখা যায় আপনি এই পানি দিতে বলেন, পানি খাবো।
এমডি মহোদয়, আমরা যদি এখন শুরু না করি পরে কিন্তু আর টাইম ম্যাচ করতে পারবো না, 3টা বেজে গেছে।
জি শফিক সাহেব, চেয়ারম্যান সাহেব,
আর স্যার কি দেখা যায় স্যার?
বাকি আছে নাকি? I think everybody is here, so we can start. আপনাদের শুরু করতে পারেন।
মা আবার ক্লাস
Almost all of our invited guests
এই দরজাটা লাগাই দিন
shown on the screen. So with the permission of the chair, I would like to start the session formally. And it's our privilege that SME Foundation, the assistance of EFIS, Frederick Ebert Steptrom, jointly organized this session, which is very timely. And I'm thankful to the EFIS and especially to Tina Bloom, who assisted us to organize this current session. So in the session, we are also with amongst us Honorable Minister of Industry Ministry, our chief guest of the session, Mr. Nurul Mojid Mahmoud Humayun, MP and Minister and Ministry of the Industries. Sir, welcome. We welcome you in the session. We have with us Professor Dr. Masudur Rahman, Chairperson of SME Foundation and Professor, Dhaka University, who has very recently joined as the Chairperson in our SME Foundation. Sir, welcome you in the session now. We have also amongst us the moderator, Mr. Shibli Rubayatul Islam, Professor, Dhaka University, and also the convener of our Research and Publication Working Committee of SME Foundation. We are for his kind attendance and his interest to work with us. We have amongst us two keynote papers presenter, Dr. Atiur Rahman, Professor, Department of Development Studies, University of Dhaka, who was the Governor of Bangladesh Bank earlier and has had the opportunity to make a lot of reforms related to the SME. We have also the keynote speaker Mr. Michael Rosler, Vice Chair, Kraft Industry International, Baden-Württemberg of Germany. We have also a very eminent scholars as the panel speakers, and we have amongst us a lot of other guests representing from different organizations, experts, and member of the civil society associations, policymakers, researchers, trade unions, and eminent ladies and scholars of the country too. So on behalf of the SME Foundation, it is our privilege and opportunity to welcome you all in the present session. As we know that the COVID-19 has a very tremendous negative impacts on the production, revenue, lives of the entrepreneurs and workers in the country. And also there is a massive disruption of the supply chain and hard hit in the rural entrepreneurs especially. There is the partial wage loss of the workers, and also the entrepreneurs of various sectors had the hard hit due to their stock of the products and loss of the markets due to the lockdown and lockdown. So the similar sort of experience is also shared by other countries too in the globe, but having the variation in its kind at the different countries. Bangladesh has a very potential SME growth country. 25% of our GDPs are contributed from the SME sector, and 99% of the industrial sectors are in the form of SMEs. Almost 25 million people are engaged in the SME sector, and 80% of the labor in the industrial sectors are working in the SME sector. In addition to that, women are found more and more vibrant in the access of the SME sector as a whole. So the very phenomena COVID-19 pandemic has a very critical question, how the new normal situations will lead us to extract the opportunities that have been created and how to get back the SMEs to the own production plan. Under the able leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, worthy and prudent directives have already started working to transform the economy to the better shape. The stimulus package by the Prime Minister is now the assistance towards the growth of the SMEs as a whole, and to patronize the SMEs to develop their production plan and to link it up with the market. So the current initiative, as we felt, SME Foundation and eFIS, is a joint journey which started back in 2018. They are the partners of the SME Foundation, and we have a lot of previous working experience. Both the organizations work together. So it is a continuous phase of our journey as we organize the program jointly. So again, I do welcome the guests, the experts, the scholars, entrepreneurs, and the all panel speakers, keynote speakers too. And especially I am regretful and thankful to the Honorable Minister who has that despite his busy schedule, who is kind enough to give his valuable time attending the seminar. It's the opportunity that we'll listen to various scholars of the home and abroad, and which will help us, and especially the Honorable Minister will listen to them, and he will find the better designing of the future plans for SME's growth. As we know that industrial policy as announced 2016 and the SME development policy as approved by the cabinet 2019 are the two wheels for protecting, safeguarding, and promoting the SMEs as a whole in the country. So as the protector of these two instruments, Honorable Minister's kind presence is very much valuable to us. So with all these few words, I welcome you all to be with us, and you will kindly give your voice, your thoughts, your inputs, so that we can get the lesson better. So with these few words, I now request our counterpart, APS resident representative Tina Bloom, to deliver her voice. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shafiqul Islam. A warm welcome from Germany. I am normally based in Dhaka and am currently here with my family in Germany. So it's very good to be connected with all of you. And I think if the pandemic has done one thing for all of us, it's created new ways of connections that we had available, but that we hadn't used. So this is one of the positive things as an outcome. We are here today with a large array of honorable experts on the subject of SMEs, but we also live on Facebook. So we have not only people in this room listening to us, but honestly, the world listening to us who wants to join us. And I think that is a huge impact of what we are doing. My name is Tina Blom. As said before, I'm heading the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, working with SME foundations for a couple of years now, and we are very honored. So my thanks to the chairperson, Professor Mahsoudour Rahman, and of course also MD Shafiqul Islam for the continued work, and to the entire team of the SME Foundation to be working with us. We are guests in Bangladesh. The Friedrich Ebert Stiftung is a German foundation that is 100 years old. We focus on political and economic analysis, on discussions, on civic education, and we do so with a strong focus on the social dimensions of issues and current developments. Social dimensions of work and social dimensions of livelihoods and social protection of people. So we are going to talk about SME in the current pandemic. And I just want to highlight three things of the pandemic that I think are very clear. The first one is, it is here to last. It is not something that is going away very soon. The second is, the smallest actors are hit the hardest. It's not the giants that suffer. Look at big global players who are rather profiting, but it's very often the smaller players that are having to find answers to very difficult circumstances. And the last point, it will change the way we work and the way we trade and interact globally for the long term. We will talk about this in a decade and in 2 decades. So how do we use this crisis for change, for positive change? As we will be discussing a lot of these issues that face SMEs in Bangladesh and around the globe are not new. but they have been exacerbated by this crisis. So how do we turn negative trends around? I think this is a wake-up call to really see change for the positive. And that's why we as experts and as learners are all here today to discuss together. The answers are not going to be easy. It's complex. SMEs are very different in their size and their scope and what they do. So the answers have to be very much contextualized. We have to listen to each other and we have to learn from each other. So also from my side, a heartfelt thanks to everybody who's here, particularly the Honorable Minister of Industry, Nurul Majid Humayun, who has blessed us with his presence, is blessing us with his presence today. Also, we've got two excellent input givers. The first one is Professor Atiyur Rahman, who's going to give us an excellent presentation. And the second one is Michael West, who's joining us from Stuttgart. I'm in northern Germany. He's joining us from the other end of Germany. And then we've got Professor Herr, who's in Berlin in the middle, who has also been joining FES and the SME Foundation on their journey for the past year. My heartfelt thanks to Professor Shibli for moderating these sessions and bringing us all together to a consensus, and to the rich number of panelists who are going to speak later. But most importantly, it's all of you, the audience, that is spending the next 3 hours with us. I know you have busy schedules, so thank you for being here. We hope we make your time worthwhile. And with that, I wish us all a fruitful and productive exchange. Thank you.
So I do request Professor Shibli Rubai sir to take over and start moderating the sessions. Sir.
Thank you very much, Honorable Managing Director, Mr. Mohammad Shafiqul Islam. Welcome, dear guest and Honorable Minister, Mr. Nurul Majid Mahmood Humayun MP. We have a very tight time schedule fixed due to many preoccupation of our guest and our chief guest. So we like to request everyone to be very specific and to kindly take care of the time limits. Today, the discussion on the concept paper on web seminar based on the pandemic and SMEs, shock absorbing policy measure and future debates impacts in Bangladesh and lessons from responses around the world, jointly organized by the SME Foundation and FES Bangladesh. In the first session, we have our very respected Dr. Atiyur Rahman. He is the Bangabandhu Chair Professor of University of Dhaka, and as well a very successful former governor of Bangladesh Bank. So without further ado, I'd like to request Professor Dr. Atiyur Rahman to present his keynote speech on Bangladesh SMEs during the pandemic, coping with the challenges and mapping the opportunities. Sir, we have 35 minutes for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Shibli, today's moderator, honorable chief guest, the Minister for Industry, other guests from home and abroad. Thank you very much for inviting me to give the keynote. You have already probably got my paper. I'll be only highlighting some of the important parts of that paper and through these PowerPoints. The Bangladesh SMEs during the pandemic are coping and with the challenges and the mapping the opportunities. That has been the title of my paper. Initially, I will start with a small background. Bangladesh, as you all know, is a great development story. It's an amazing story. You know, the story is sometimes mind-boggling, I would say. It literally rose from ashes to prosperity after we had nothing, an $8 billion economy, which has now come to the level of 350 billion plus. So that has been the story, and the economy has really moved pretty fast, and I will come to that story. And the pandemic induced financial crisis, without any doubt, has also affected Bangladesh and SME sector. But government has, of course, been very smart in providing the stimulus package for SMEs and ensured enough supply of liquidity. And that has really helped us, in facing the challenges. And I think the challenge still remains about the timely implementation of the packages. And I think there lies the most important part. As you can see from the slide, Bangladesh economy is now in a 7% club, and the per capita income has really made a jump, and it has been a quantum jump. It's rising at a faster rate compared to its neighbors, likely to, I'm talking about the pre-pandemic kind of figures. It was likely to surpass India by 2030 and reach $5,700 per capita income. Bangladesh has also enhanced digital connectivity and financial inclusion and extended social safety net programs to the factories working, and also there are many important factors which are really pushing this growth. The SMEs have been contributing, substantially in our growth process, and particularly by providing employment to unskilled or semi-skilled workforce and producing suitable goods and services for that. And the sector has been contributing about 25% to the GDP and employing about 8 million people, which is a substantial contribution to the economy. In the pre-pandemic situation, we have seen that, the almost 1/3 of the enterprise workforce really were engaged in the SMEs, and and SMEs contribute was on the about just in terms of percentage share of the enterprises workforce engaged in different types of enterprises. You can see 54% is were in cottage, and about medium about 14%, small about 25%, and 2% only in terms of micro. But if you can see the numbers, the 80% of the enterprises are really micro. So there is a dichotomy there. Just about 11% of all the enterprises are SMEs, and 88% are the cottage enterprises. And if you can see that in general, of the 13% of the Bangladesh enterprises are really supporting export, and the ratio is significantly higher for the SMEs. 26% of small enterprises and 48% of the medium enterprises are engaged in export business, although large sector is about 86%. So this is, even the SMEs are also playing important role in terms of exports. The major, the favorable monetary policy really provided us the scope for improvement of SME finance here in Bangladesh. The amount of SME credit disbursed and the number of SMEs receiving credit both were more than doubled during the period of 2010 to 15, and the process is still continuing. And but the growth of credit has been slightly slower after that. And even during the SMEs, initially in the pandemic, initially the credit was not growing, but now things are picking up thanks to the pressure of the government and the central bank. This is now coming up, and more credit is now being pushed to the SMEs. Although even in terms of implementation of the stimulus, I thought more efforts need to be made for the better implementation of the SME finance, particularly during this pandemic period. The major challenges that are being faced by the SME growth factors are of course, the number one factor is that the women entrepreneurs are still not in big numbers, and their potential remain untapped. Less than 1/3 of the workforce are engaged, are women, and more can come in, and the entrepreneurs number is still quite low among the women entrepreneurs. Half of the enterprises are located around the two large cities, the Dhaka and Chittagong, and the rural areas still need to be really revamped, and then it should get more access. Half of the access to formal finance due to really goes to the not even half actually goes to the SMEs. So there is a real problem with the formal finance, and mainly because of the lending rate, which remains pretty high. Although the central bank has innovated some strategies of refinancing so that the rates could come down, even then the rates are very high, and there is obvious reasons for that as well. It's a highly supervised credit, so the rates can be high. Strict requirements like the collateral and the license, the trade license, all that, this also hinder the smooth flow of the access. And of course, the private banks and many other banks are now find it not cost effective always to go for the credit for the SMEs at the rate which has been given by the government. So, but yet some other organizations are trying to reach them, particularly the MFIs and others are trying to reach the SMEs. So these are the barriers. Now, if you really want to go forward, even with this barrier, we can really see that we need to identify the areas which the SME policy 2019 has really elaborated. I thought SME policy of 2019 has been a very smart policy move, and it has tried to identify the role of important sectors related to development of the SMEs. It has also tried to create necessary infrastructure and cluster development for expansion. As you know, SME Foundation has created a very good database on the cluster-based SMEs. I think these areas are well known, particularly light engineering areas like Bogra or Jeshore or even other areas. One knows where to really go. So I thought time is to reach those areas. It has also tried to improve the SME-friendly environment, particularly in the policies. It has asked for finance, ICT, market linkages. So this has been highlighted in the policy. The policy also hopes to establish public-private partnership, a lot of private-private partnerships, so that SMEs can flourish, increase R&D for enhancing SME sector competitiveness, and also the policy also plans to coordinate among different stakeholders, so to ensure coherent actions for the SMEs. Next is pandemic, the issue on the coping with the pandemic. We really, it came all on a sudden, as you know, this pandemic, we were not prepared for it. And this has created a situation, we were almost at the threshold of going 8+ growth. Around that time, the COVID came. The World Bank since then has been projecting a meager 1.6% of real GDP growth for us because of the COVID outbreak. And the previous projection of them was only 5.6% for us. But the ADB projects slightly better. The latest projection of the September, they said 6.8 growth for this year, 8% growth based on growing labor productivity and enhanced economic resilience. But Bangladesh government is expecting even higher growth and hence stronger recovery due to robust remittance performance and export growth in recent months. Bangladesh Bank and others have provided a lot of facilities so that they want to recover fast and have a V-shaped recovery. If we can get access to the vaccines and the medicines. But even then, even without them, I thought Bangladesh will be doing much better than what has been projected by the World Bank, which is no near. ADB even will do far better than ADB. That's my perception. The SMEs have been severely affected during the we had a partial lockdown. We used to call it the public holidays, but during those periods, SMEs revenue decreased by 66% as 76% of the products remained unsold around that time. 42% of the employees received partial salary, 4% did not receive salary at all. 68% entrepreneurs would not be able to sustain if lockdown continued for 4 months. But then the government was smart enough to selectively open the economy and creating enough positive environment so that SME can really come back. Even then, even though we have opened up, the SME finance has significantly decreased if we compare it with the last year. April-June figure of the last year and the April-June figure of this year. And obviously, April-June figure was a terrible period. So the number of loans disbursed to medium enterprises decreased by about 21%, and that for small enterprises decreased by 40%. A similar pattern is visible in terms of amount of loans disbursed to SMEs. But again, things have picked up of late, and these figures probably will be outlier at some point in time. Next is CMSMEs. The Cottage micro and the small MSC stimulus package that we have been given. This was a timely and a very flexible approach. The government declared this stimulus package for CMSMEs, established refinance schemes to implement the packages, ensured easy access, easing internal credit risk rating system, establishing help desk, etc. And particularly for women, these have been created, and credit guarantee scheme has been created, and an initiative has been taken to monitor the implementation process. So all these are likely to improve the finance for the CMSMEs as well. So it seems that we are getting the rewarding outcomes, because CMSME loans are going to rural areas in the Q2 of the 22 financial year, and we can see that fund has started going. The share of the rural CMSE loans in total CMSE loans during January, March 20, and during April, June has been better. This is, and incentives have been given, and although not adequate, and implementation is still the challenge. That's what has been identified. So given these kind of barriers and the challenges, let's go back to the ways forward. What we have in mind in the ways forward. We think a larger share for SMEs in total stimulus should have been ensured. We have about 20,000 for the SMEs directly, and another about 15 to 20,000 indirectly. So I thought this could be more, given the need for it. Significantly lagging behind India and Thailand in terms of the stimulus. We have about 22%, Malaysia 24%, Thailand 33%, and India 38%. A larger share for SMEs could have been ensured, taking the macroeconomic significance of the sector. And what we can learn from the international practices. This is we can see that international practice, watching all around the world, that work time during the pandemic period, they have reduced the work time, temporary layoff, given the sick leave, that's how they adjusted to the emergencies. Tax deferrals and public procurements from the SMEs have been ensured. Direct lending by public institutions to the SMEs, and monitoring impacts and enhancing governance. So these were the international experiences. Let me look at our policy recommendation. And one of the ideas should be that we should first try to really realize our SME policy 2019 and learning from our own experience. As you know, 2019 SME, as I said, it's a smart policy thanks to the minister here and his team. This is a policy which really has been trying to address the lack of access to finance. Number 2, lack of access to technology. Number 3, addressing the absence of sufficient market linkages. Number 4, insufficient human resource development. It really wants to address that issue, and low level of business support services that exist. This policy wants to support that. I thought if that can be done, this will be something really good. And next is we need to be innovative in collaborating with other stakeholders, particularly the bank MFI, Microfinance Institute linkage could really help us a lot. Nearly 33 million borrowers take money from the MFI. So if we can find a linkage up with them, and about 82% of them are women actually, so that would have been a very good thing. And again, the digital financial service can be the new way out for for the SMEs, and accelerating this digital drive could really take us far. And this is possible because now is the age for data management. Now is the age for artificial intelligence. Now is the time to use those modern techniques to really see the cash flow, see the supply chains, and give the finance. So that's how digital finance can work. Track the progress and boost export. I thought that would be the best thing to do. So let me conclude now. As we can see that we can really further go for robust and sustainable growth of SMEs. If we can anticipating in our SME policies. So if we can implement those policies, we can really take it for have robust and sustainable growth of SMEs, provided we can really give the macroeconomic supports, particularly the macroeconomic stability and the liquidity. Fortunately, as we said, the Bangladesh Bank and with the support of the government really created an environment in the post-pandemic situation. A lot of liquidity now is in the market. Not only Bangladesh Bank and the central bank has really created enough liquidity for the market, reduced the rates, different rates, made regulatory easing, so that a lot of money now available. Now the challenge is to use that money. I think amid the pandemic situation for the economy. So actually, we need to really refocus more on the SMEs so that we can really take the economy further. Stakeholders need to be as collaborative, coordinated, and innovative as possible to translate the stimulus commitments into desired outcomes. Let the potentials of SMEs be transformed into realities in the post-pandemic environment, which may create new opportunities for small and medium entrepreneurs. So, for example, we have already made some experimentation about the nano credit. So it's entirely artificial intelligence based. The banks and the mobile financial service are cooperating and giving small loans, like say 10,000 taka loans for the small entrepreneurs who can get it in 4 minutes. So I thought we need to move that smart and really go for digitally financing arrangements, so that our small entrepreneurs, particularly the women who have come a long way during the pandemic, they should be supported. And I thought our policies are in place. Now the challenge only remains for implementation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful presentation. And we went through all the... Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. And we have noted down the main points, and hopefully our panelists today will have discussion on that. As our honorable chief guest, Mr. Nurul Majid Mahmood Humayun MP, Honorable Minister, Ministry of Industries, he's a little bit occupied and he needs to leave early. So he has requested us to allow him to speak early. So we are requesting our honorable chief guest today to speak before us, as he has to leave early. Honorable Minister, Mr. Nurul Majid Mahmood Humayun. Sir, please. Mr. Abu Said, kindly check if our honorable minister is available.
স্যারকে একটু বলেন আনমিউট করতে হবে, এটা একটু বলেন।
Sorry. Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Yes,
okay,
sir.
Now we start from Mr. Chair of the Union, Dr. Masoodur Rahman, Chairperson, SME Foundation. Learned keynote speaker, Dr. Atir Rahman, and Mr. Michael Roser, moderator, Professor Shibli Rubayatul Islam, and Mr. Shafiqul Islam, Managing Director, SME Foundation, Ms. Tina Bloom, Resident Representative, FES Bangladesh, distinguished discussants, guests of home and abroad, senior government officials, representatives of the different private sector organizations, journalists and SME entrepreneurs, ladies and gentlemen. As we are passing through the program of the year-long celebrations of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's birth centenary, let me begin by remembering the greatest Bengali ever, the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, with deep reverence and homage for the tremendous sacrifice for the sake of freedom and economic emancipation of the peoples of Bangladesh. It is indeed a pleasure for me to be present today at this webinar titled The Pandemic and SMEs, Shock-Absorbing Policy Measures and Future Debates, Impacts in Bangladesh and Lessons from Responses Around the World. Jointly organized by the Small and Medium Enterprise SME Foundation under the Ministry of Industries and the FES Bangladesh office. At the very outset, let me convey my heartfelt thanks and welcome to the organizers for the brilliant efforts to organize this timely seminar in the context of ongoing COVID-19 outbreak. These initiatives will certainly widen up the opportunities to address the sufferings of SME entrepreneurs around the world in general and the SMEs of Bangladesh in particular. I am hopeful that through the sharing experience among the multi-stakeholders related to SMEs, we would be able to find out a concrete roadmap and a policy guidance in order to recover the losses of our SMEs overcoming the COVID-19 challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe the webinar has correctly focused on the SMEs of Bangladesh as well as the SMEs of the other neighboring and our friendly countries with special types of policy measures in order to sustain in the changing scenario of global economic order. It would help SMEs of different countries to turn back following good examples from other countries to support SMEs by the government and other stakeholders, including smart mechanism and policies. This program may also glimpse us on the prospects of IT-based innovation in the SMEs and startups, policy measures, gaps, and way forward on new innovations in SMEs, as well as ways of linking SMEs to the global market. I think the webinar will certainly assist us to learn the strategies of different countries and eventually help us to implement the best practices to receive our SMEs. Finally, I would like to thank all of you for your active participation in today's auspicious webinar. I really appreciate the sincere efforts of the FES Bangladesh and SME Foundation and hope the organizers will work together in promoting SMEs to overcome challenges like COVID-19 in the upcoming days. With these few words, I would like to conclude my speech. Thank you all for your attention and for your valuable inputs. Jai Bangla, Jai Bangabandhu, long live Bangladesh. Thank you all.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Guest, Honorable Minister, Mr. Nurul Mojid Mahmood Humayun. Thank you very much for your presence. Your presence has encouraged us. Actually, what we are doing today is very much time-worthy. The SME sector is the bottom of the pyramid, and we need this SME sector to be as strong as possible so that this takes our overall economy forward. Now we will be entering our panel discussion session, and I would request everyone to keep your microphone on mute, and whenever we have an open discussion, you can unmute and participate. So let us start the panel discussion. I would like to request Mohammad Rashidul Kori Munna, Managing Director of Creation Private Limited, to make his remarks. Every panel discussant, your time limit is 5 minutes. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, let me thank the Honorable Industry Minister, Honorable Chairman of SME Foundation, moderator, and other valued guests and panelists. A special thanks also to our keynote paper presenter, Dr. Atir Rahman. I want to share my thought on SME development of Bangladesh from my side. Presently, there are 7.8 million SME entrepreneurs in Bangladesh, whose contribution to the GDP is 25%. The government of Bangladesh has set a target to increase this contribution to 32%, and new job creation has to be 15 million by 2024. However, this pandemic is hampering the overall growth of SMEs. Especially from March to July 2020, the SMEs have spent most of their capital in order to survive. They had to pay rent, utility bill, wages, loans, and others. And so they lost a major portion of their capital. They also got stuck with the products they had made. Our Honorable Prime Minister declared some financial package for SMEs as well as the SME policy 2019. But due to the mindset and unwillingness of our banking sector, this was not implemented properly, especially to the small and micro level entrepreneurs, especially those who were not engaged with the formal banking channel. This has also led some of them into an uncertain future. If the government does not ensure the access to finance for these SMEs, our future growth will be slowed down. In this regard, we appeal to the government to take strategic, short, mid, and long-term need-based steps. I have some requests to our Honorable Industry Minister for the SME. Slow down. In this regard, sound is okay?
Yeah, sound is okay. You're fine.
Okay. The government may provide direct fund support in an innovative way to the SMEs through both banking and non-banking channel with target, transparency, and accountability. And it will be only for those who have not received any assistance through the banking channel before. This is because this group is suffering the most. We need to database of the SME entrepreneurs at the district, Thana, union, and village level, especially of those groups who are not under any restriction by the local government authority. It will be helpful to implement any financial package to those SMEs. If the government procurement policy safeguard the domestic sales of the SMEs by a minimum of 25% through its procurement policy, the sustainability of these entrepreneurs are increased. This policy is followed by many countries for SME growth. Please consider this issue very seriously. We need to focus on online business platform all over the country very seriously with better policy support for SMEs, including VAT and tax support. We need effective policy for a more conducive environment to include our cluster-based SMEs products with the large industrial supply chain. This is a serious need to focus on product diversification through research, product development, skill development, and upgrade technology to promote the growth of SMEs. My request to the Honorable Industry Minister to protect our local producer. We need to discourage through tax barrier to reduce the unlimited import of products that are locally made by our SME. Lastly, I want to say that an entrepreneur overcomes many challenges to become an entrepreneur through dedication, vision, knowledge, art, and hard work. These qualities cannot be bought with money. Hence, we need to take special steps to protect these SMEs to create a better Bangladesh. Thank you to all for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rashidul Karim.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for making a very short but very precise and important deliberation. Next, we would like to request Professor Dr. M. Abu Yusuf, Department of Development Studies, University of Dhaka, to make his panel remarks. Professor Dr. M. Abu Yusuf, your time is 5 minutes. Thank you very much. Please. Professor Abu Yusuf, are you here?
Thank you very much, respected chief guest, moderator, and keynote presenters, other guests. I think I would like to congratulate SME Foundation to organize such an important issues, because during this pandemic, which is very unprecedented in nature, because we are not prepared for such incident, but we have to face it. And if we look at different evidence, already we have got that, you know, there are different group segments, they are highly impacted due to this pandemic. But, you know, if we look at from the both supply side and demand side, and now we are going to, you know, what about the disruption from supply side and demand side, and we are going to recovery and with the support from government. And I would like to thank Dr. Atiur Rahman for his wonderful presentation and highlighting both the issues, demand and supply side, and some implementation issues, because he said that implementation is the main issues. And I would like to add one thing, that, you know, theory and practice, you know, there are some big issues, nice issues highlighted in the SME policy 2019, which is much appreciated. But when we look at the theory and practice, we find that there are some, you know, disparity between, there are some gap between theory and practice. So we need to focus on that. Say for SME policy 2019, it has focused on innovation, it has focused on IT development. But, you know, during this pandemic also, it gave us some lessons that we need to focus on not only you know, physical infrastructure, also other online e-commerce and other issues. But you know, the trade license, you know, trade license is one of the issues that one of the requirement that is for the SMEs. But, you know, trade license, the main condition is that there is a physical address, and, you know, in the commercial space that must be, but residential, not in the residential areas. But during this pandemic, we have seen that many online business came up. But if we talk about trade license, we need to some policy saying how we can relate not only physical address. I think
Yusuf, you are muted. Please unmute.
Maybe someone is doing online business, so you know, he does not need to have a physical address as required by trade license. So we need to make a policy change for that. And another issues I would like to highlight from a different perspective, SME, small and medium enterprise. I think, you know, we need to segregate small and medium separately. We should not bring small and medium under one umbrella. And say, for example, in this stimulus package, that was, you know, 20,000 crore has been announced for SMEs, but only what we have seen, 17 to 20% being implemented. So you see huge gap. And if you look at the conditions of the stimulus package, you know, it's basically bank based, but you see there are some division, you know, trade, service, business. So, you know, some business like, you know, 20%, but trade and service like 80%. And there are some definition in the trade. So we need to change, you know, which one is applicable for the small one, which one is applicable for the medium one. So we should to treat small differently, and we should treat medium. So under the existing system, the medium enterprises are being benefited, as highlighted by Dr. Atiur Rahman. We need to treat them separately. Small, maybe they don't have any formal transaction with the bank, or, you know, because all the supports are based on bank based. So, you know, small and micro, and also, you know, women entrepreneurs. I have done one survey recently, that is, 72% of the women entrepreneurs, they mentioned that access to finance is the main barriers. So, and I had a session with the 16 women chambers, district women chambers, but in reality, hardly any women, micro women, small women, they are being covered under stimulus package. And it's already 6 months with the pandemic, but it's still, the full operation of this stimulus package is in, action. So we need to focus on that. Is if we want to get a speed recovery, we need to think of how we can engage district women chambers, how we can engage, MFI's SME Foundation for the small and micro enterprises, then that of, medium enterprises. That is one area. And also with this forum, I would like to request, I had a talk to Dr. Atiur Rahman before, that is whether we can think of, because there are some supply side barriers and also demand side barriers for the micro and small and women entrepreneurs, whether we can think of a SME bank, separate, specialized SME bank, or maybe women development bank. Yesterday, I spoke to Monowara Hakim of Chittagong Women Chambers, and I told her that maybe we can think of, maybe government has some requirements, financial requirements. Women entrepreneurs, they don't have any support for that. Maybe government would take special initiative with financial support also, so that one SME bank or any women development bank may be set up, so that, we need to bring these small and micro in the broad development agenda. I think if we can bring them, then, only 36% of the women, they are in the labor force. So we need to bring it up as well. So with these viewers, I again congratulate SME Foundation for organizing such wonderful seminar, webinar, and also the keynote presentation, Dr. Atiur Rahman, for his wonderful speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammad Abu Yusuf, and thank you for making your time management right, helping us in managing the overall seminar. Thank you again. And the points that you have raised, especially on women, small and medium enterprise issue, the gaps, especially the bank-based SMEs and non-bank-based who are out of the reach of the banking system. These are very important points that you have raised. Now, we'd like to request Mr. Arijit Chaudhary, Additional Secretary, Financial Institutions Division, Minister of Finance. Mr. Arijit Chaudhary, please start your discussion, and please manage 5 minutes time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Chief Guest, respectable keynote speaker, respectable moderator of this session, distinguished guests and participants of today's webinar, good afternoon to all. It is my pleasure to attend this webinar and sharing the experience with all the stakeholders. At first, I want to express my gratitude to Dr. Atiur Rahman sir for his thoughtful deliberation. He focused on all the aspects of the SME sector and provided some recommendations for the development of this sector. In this regard, I want to highlight some of the measures initiated by the government for development of the SME sector. Dr. Atiur Rahman sir mentioned, and all of us, we know that government has declared some stimulus packages to get rid of the impact of the COVID-19 effect. And I do not want to mention the figures of those stimulus packages. From our side, we are trying to monitor the progress of the achievement of the targets regularly. And we are hopeful that our Honorable Governor Bangladesh Bank, he fixed a target and all the banks will be able to achieve the targets. And besides this, besides the stimulus package, I want to mention that we know that one of the main hindrance of the SME sectors or SME entrepreneurs, that there is a lack of support to get access to finance. So for this purpose, we are formulating the National Financial Inclusion Strategy. We are at the final stage, and hopefully within the next 2 or 3 months, we'll be able to submit it to the proper authority for approval. And in the National Financial Inclusion Strategy, we have focused on SME sector also, and we have focused on digitization of the financial inclusion practices, and besides this, we know that collateral is another factor for the SME entrepreneurs. So to support the entrepreneurs and also to encourage the business in Bangladesh, we are now preparing a draft of Secure Transaction Act, which will be helpful to establish a mobile collateral registry in Bangladesh. And we are hopeful that now we are discussing with all the stakeholders in the government level and private sector level, and Bangladesh Bank is finalizing the draft, and then they will submit it to us. So it will also help the SME sector in Bangladesh. Besides this, we from the Financial Institution Division, we are now implementing some projects supported by our development partners. Those are for the SME sector development, and some of them are for the marginal farmers, and also those are for agro-based SME industries also. And we have two organizations. One is Polycommercial Foundation, and another is Social Development Foundation. They are also, hello, it's okay? Okay, so
yes, it's okay.
Okay, so they are also trying to provide support to the SME entrepreneurs at their level, and we have piloted some of the projects for the SME sector development, such as PKSF. They have implemented a project, a pilot project on the startup fund for the SME sector development, and also they have piloted a project for the micro and medium entrepreneurs that is for lease finance. And PKSF has also implemented and a project for the value chain development. And besides this, government has provided a special package for our 3 banks and PKSF also for the small and marginal farmers and small and medium entrepreneurs. Those institutions are Kommersonstan Bank, Polli Sanchoy Bank, and Probashi Kolyan Bank, and also PKSF. Government has provided 2,000 crore BDT for those 4 organizations, and we are hopeful that this will help to get to support the SME entrepreneurs in this COVID situation. From our FID's initiative, we are providing support to our SME Foundation, so that we believe that SME Foundation should be an established, should be a platform for all the SME entrepreneurs. And for this purpose, there is an initiative to establish a incubation centers in two areas, one in Dhaka and another one is Chittagong. And this will help the SME entrepreneurs also. And from our initiatives, with the support of our development partner, and we have provided support to Bangladesh Women Chamber of Commerce and Industry to establish a database for the women entrepreneurs. So these are the main points which I wanted to focus in this webinar. So thanks to all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arijit Chaudhary, and thank you very much for informing us the developments that you have done from your part. and you gave us some new information, and that will definitely help in the coming days, the whole SME sector, we hope. Our last panel discussion today is Dr. Momtazuddin Ahmed, our very respectable honorary professor of Department of Economics, University of Dhaka, and who has a lot of contribution in building SME Foundation today into these standards. So, Dr. Momtazuddin Ahmed, sir, your time starts now, sir. Sir, we have 5 minutes for everyone. We are trying to manage that. Thank you, sir, for cooperating.
Okay. Shibli, can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Everything is fine. We can see you and we can hear you. Everything is
okay. Fine, thank you. I don't, my connection is not very good. It's jumping up and down. Anyway,
that's fine.
I don't want to be, in the picture that much, so it is good for me. Well, I think I'm the last discussion with 5 minutes time. Let me start thanking the organizers for initiating this event. This is very timely, and of course it is going to be effective and fruitful, I'm sure about that. So not really losing time by addressing all the very distinguished persons, let me make some points in a very short time. Distinguished keynote presenter and distinguished discussants and guests from home and abroad, and of course the I have gone through a lot of literature, not just for preparing for this event. Even 2-3 months back, I in fact published a newspaper article on the issue, particularly relating to the distribution of the government stimulus package. So I know, by the way, that there has been only one sample survey, a small sample survey in Bangladesh on the issue, done by Light Castle Partners Primary Survey. So we have some information only about Bangladesh. So what I want to emphasize, given the gravity of the situation of the SMEs in Bangladesh, I would make it very categorical that we should immediately go for a sample survey of the SME sector, just to identify and locate who are the entrepreneurs in this sector are suffering most, have gone out of business, and they need help immediately and urgently. This is my number one suggestion. Then number two, I would suppose that the rollouts or the measures taken by all countries globally, particularly by the OECD member countries and other developing countries. There are studies by UNIDO, there are studies by ILO, even some partial studies done on some different aspects by World Bank. From all these experiences, I can see we should really concentrate on 2-3 issues. That is the stimulating the economy and employment, then supporting the enterprises, entrepreneurs, jobs and incomes. Then protecting the workers. This is very important because unemployment is now of huge proportion all over the world, not to speak of only the SME sector. So this is where we have to zero in very carefully. And for that, a lot of measures are being taken by different countries. We can learn from there, of course. And the other issue will be on the reliance on integrated measures across all policy areas and social dialogues for solutions. This is another of my suggestions. Now, in the discussion here, 2 or 3 issues has come. What is the SME definitional issue? This is some issue we have been arguing for a long time. We have not been able to solve it. Of course, it has a political economic element. So what we really decide to do something about it, we can do it. But for that, we need consensus from all stakeholders here. So only the Ministry of Industry doing it will not do good, or by the SME Foundation. Then the SME policy came for a little bit discussion. I regard the SME policy 2019 as one of the very best around. Its particular trait, its particular trait is the implementation plan. For the first time, the policy has gone very carefully through the implementation side. They have taken important issues, and they have also given hints which are the agencies that are going to implement them, and it is all time bound. Hopefully, if things go well, this policy will be very effectively implemented. That's my comment on the policy. Now coming to the
আপনার লোক তো ওটা দিয়ে চলে গেছে, আমি শাড়িগুলা দিব, সে নিয়ে যাবে না?
Hello. Hello, Shibli, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Everything is okay.
Sure.
একজন কথা বলে ফেলেছে।
আমি দেখতে পাচ্ছি। Okay. Then all of the rescue measures should really take into account. So for SMEs are concerned, this is a very heterogeneous sector, we all know. We have S, we have M, and blah, blah. Recently, C has been added. What is, I have no idea why. I don't see any justification for this to make the list too long, because we have BISIC established for a long time to take care of the cottage industries. So we can leave it to them. But of course, there may be common grounds for work being done by the SME Foundation and also the BISIC. So this is my suggestion. Then coming to the issue of the workers, this is where we need to do a lot of things, and lessons for these are available all around. We should only be careful and to choose which will be the most applicable in our case. I believe while we talk about the SMEs, particularly in the rural areas, we have to keep in mind that most of them operate in the informal sector. This is the segment of the economy where millions of people are engaged in earning their livelihoods. They are the most hard hit within the SME sector. So we should really keep this into our consideration and design incentive package to be specially designed for these people who are already out of employment, who possibly majority of whom are starving, not knowing what to do to survive. So this must be very carefully dealt with. Finally, I end up with just adding another suggestion. That is, we are in the trouble. We have experienced it for nearly 6 months, and the whole world is going to be prepared for another bout of it. So keeping these into perspective, we must emphasize the important structural measures for not only rescuing the SMEs from the current situation, but also for building their resilience after the pandemic is gone, if it goes at all sometimes. And that is where some discussions have come up. The whole production system should be reoriented. The value chain networking should be reoriented, redesigned, and the SME entrepreneurs should be trained, and there should be advocacy campaigns to change their operational system. They should be encouraged to digitalize as much as possible, and they should go for practicing e-commerce so that pandemics like this affecting them once again, they can keep them afloat and they can go on, survive, and they can grow further. Thank you very much, everybody. My special thanks is to Dr. Atio. I know whatever he has got to do, he does it so very perfectly in a complete manner. So I congratulate him. I congratulate everyone who has taken or participated in this discussion. Everybody has contributed, and I'm very pleased I have been a part of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your wonderful remarks and your discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, we have we'll be starting the open discussion right now. So if you have anything to say, please raise your hand, and we will one by one we'll allow you to speak. Please let's start with Mr. Rashid, Associate Professor of University of Dhaka. Mr. Rashid.
Thank you very much, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, we can hear you.
So thank you very much. So my name, as I said, sir, I'm Rashidur Rahman. I'm also the Executive Director of the Innovation, Creativity and Entrepreneurship Center. It's a new center, but focuses on entrepreneurship and employability. So we have a board member, both from government, around 7 additional secretaries, and some Chamber of Commerce, 4 Chamber of Commerce are with us. So just a brief introduction of IC Center is a part of Dhaka University. Our Honorable BSEC Chairman is also a member of the board. So, and for me, it's an honor that I have seen many of my senior colleagues. So I just wanted to share with you all of you one update. Is that recently we signed a project with UNDP. The name is Revive, and this project is 3 components. One is about mentorship and advisory services. The project focuses primarily on CSME sector. So we will be providing mentorship and advisory services to these sectors across nation. Then we will be focusing on 4 research papers and 1 policy outline, which Professor Mamta Uddin just was mentioning. But these are very brief 4-month research project. And third is we try to link these CSMEs and with the supply chain. So one important update that I would just want to share with you, that recently we trained 32 hours on 7 modules, where we trained around 120 students from different disciplines of both University of Dhaka and others. The objective of training them is to analyze the 64 districts and what are the CSMEs, and so coming up with a CSME mapping of each district, small wise, but we hopefully will be coming with it. So the final message, what I want to share, thank you very much, SME Foundation. We have some speakers in our training session from SME Foundation as well. As I just want to reiterate, Professor Mamta sir, that it's really important that we don't have any CSME data in Bangladesh. So we really need to do a comprehensive nationwide survey on understanding the situation, where we are lagging behind, what are the issues that we can more focus on. And from the IC Center, we love to be a part of any initiative that SME Foundation has to take. So thank you very much, sir, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Sir Professor Rashid from Organization Strategy and Leadership Department, University of Dhaka. Thank you very much for making some very important remarks from your place, and we know how ICE is doing and how innovative ICE is. So please keep on contributing. Thank you very much. Now, welcoming any other participants who are willing to talk in the open discussion, please either raise your hand or send a note in the chat book so that we can open the floor for you. You can discuss anything relating to the topic we have today, and especially the keynote speech.
Ji. Yes, this is Salahuddin Mahmood. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, Mr. Salahuddin
Yes.
Mahmood, welcome. Please start your discussion, but please
Yes.
try to make it very precise and short.
Sure.
Thank you.
Additional Secretary, Minister of Industry.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I would like to thank our Honorable Chief Guest, Mr. Nurul Mojid Mahumayun MP, for his very nice and wonderful speech, inaugural speech, and also today's chair, the Honorable Chairman, SEMI Foundation, newly joined, and also our very efficient moderator, and all other relevant stakeholders and who have actually joined with this webinar. First of all, I would like to mention here that it is due to the wonderful farsightedness of our Honorable Prime Minister that she has declared, firstly, to stimulus package, one for the industrial sector, mainly that is 30,000 crore, and 20,000 crore for SME sectors. Now, by this time, the government is taking, particularly from the Ministry of Industry, what actually is doing, I would like to mention that there has been a Ujjivan committee to implement the stimulus package implementation, and it is actually doing its best to host several meetings and to also to find out the way out how to get the package program, including the small and medium enterprise, micro and cottage also, because it is mainly for the SMEs who have been severely destroyed and affected due to the corona pandemic starting from March 2020 in Bangladesh. So there are problems we have also found from our keynote speaker, Honorable Atul Rahman sir. He has also tried to mention it, but it is also frustrating that we know still now 3,600 crore taka have been disbursed from this stimulus package for the SMEs. So it is not very encouraging, because there has been almost 5 months have gone. So as early as possible, it should be disbursed. That is the package program, the money which is to be given to the entrepreneurs. But due to the bank-client relationship, which is still existed, which should not be applicable to the entrepreneurs, particularly the SMEs, that should be eradicated first to implement the objectives due to which our Honorable Prime Minister has announced this stimulus package. And here I would like to also mention that there has been a NSDC, that is National Development Council for SME Development, which has been led by our Honorable Minister, and also there is a task force led by our Honorable Secretary, Minister of Industry. This actually very highly empowered body is also working tremendously, and also they have given some programs, and based on which 7 subcommittees have been formed by this time, and they have recommended some very relevant objectives and recommendations, particularly for access to money for development of women entrepreneurs, ICT development, innovation, and marketing of the products of the SMEs. So I think these would be the key areas for development if we want to help to implement the SME policy 2019. And I think SME Foundation and BISIC is concertedly are working in that case, and I think within very next 2 or 3 years, we would see that there will be wonderful progress in the implementation of the SME policy. But present corona pandemic situation, I would like to say that we see that 25% of the total GDP contribution is coming from SME sector, which is going to be 32% at the end of this present government. In that case, we have seen from the presentation of our keynote speaker that only 22% has been allocated for the SMEs. I think as SMEs are contributing much in the national building activities, in the employment generation, poverty reduction, and also the Honorable Prime Minister's objective at the end of this tenure of the government is to give 1 to 20 lakh people employment. If that is possible only if the SME sector can be developed. 78 lakh SME entities are there. So I think traditional workforce only cannot be expected to be provided with government services, but only SMEs can provide this huge number of employees for their jobs. So I think it is the utmost necessity and the demand of time that SME should be developed, and the package which has been declared by our Honorable Prime Minister has to be given in time properly, particularly to the SMEs who have been seriously affected. With these few words, I would like to conclude my speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salahuddin Mahmood. Ms. Manasha Ahmed, do you want to say anything?
Yes, thank you. I'm Mantash Ahmed, President, Association of Fashion Designers of Bangladesh. I'm also the President of Bangladesh India Business Council of Wiki and a former board member of SME Foundation. Heartiest congratulations to SME Foundation for organizing this event and for FES for the strategic support. Thank you very much, Dr. Atiur Rahman, sir, for your presentation. I think you've covered almost everything that I wanted to see in the presentation. A lot of participants talked about the financial factor, the access problems of accessing the finance for SME loans. But I think there's a lot of non-financial challenges as well. For example, access to IT, access to marketing, access to good raw materials, and these things should be addressed, especially in manufacturing. Access to internet also. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is, since I am a representative of the fashion sector, I'd like to say a few things about the issues that the fashion entrepreneurs are facing at the moment. So when the lockdown started in March, most weavers and producers had already prepared their Boishak and Eid collection, which are the two largest festivals in Bangladesh. So they're stuck now with a very big inventory. They don't know what to do with it. So I would suggest that if we could look into upcycling or recycling into making products that have more utility during COVID, then perhaps they could clear out some of their inventory. And we could also arrange necessary training for that. There is also an issue with the beauty parlor sector. Most ladies that were working in the beauty sector have dropped out, and they've gone to their villages and gone into farming, which is good. But then when things get back to normal, hopefully that will be soon enough, what will happen to these ladies? Will they come back? Will they need refreshers training? That is another thing that we need to talk about. And someone talked about cottage industry. I think there's a lot of potentials there, because since a lot of people are unemployed at the moment and most of them have gone home, they can do things at home. They can make crafts, they can do agriculture. So cottage industry would need focus. And the last thing that I wanted to touch up on is, yes, the stimulus package is a wonderful initiative, but none of my members, the members of my association, could access this package. In fact, I called up a few banks myself, and all of them have said that we have not received any instruction from Bangladesh Bank. So that is something that we really need to look into, because this is for the people that deserve it the most, and they're not getting it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mantash Ahmed. As we do not have any further discussion in this session, we'd like to move to the next part. next part will be moving to our honorable chair of the session today, Professor Dr. Mohammad Masudur Rahman. Before that, I'm just making few remarks before our honorable chairman speaks. Actually, the discussion that we made today is a very time-worthy discussion. We all know that how this pandemic has affected every country of the world, and especially the business people who really went through a lot of hassle and hurdles, and there we are expecting that the second wave is also on the way. So we have to take lessons from our past experience, and we have to help the business people in order to get themselves prepared. And as some of you spoke about the e-commerce and so these are the areas where we really need to bring our focus on. We have a new chairman at the SME Foundation, who is from the University of Dhaka and the Department of Marketing, a very dynamic person and very knowledgeable person. We hope he will take forward the SME Foundation further and make a contribution at this very important point when the bottom of the pyramid is struggling. Our panel discussant, Mr. Rashidul Karim Munna, rightfully pointed out the importance of SME sector in developing our foundation of the business. Our other panel discussant, Dr. M. Abu Yusuf, rightfully pointed out the gender issue, where women SME issue is really a demand of the day to put attention at. And also he rightfully pointed out the huge gap we have, and also a very important point that not all the SME members has access to the banking system. So these non-banked people, non-bank companies, non-banked organizations, we should bring them into the banking system so that whatever the stimulus package we are offering, that has to reach everyone. But really we found that there is a gap. But Mr. Arijit Chaudhary has informed us from the Ministry of Finance point of view that financial inclusion originated and initiated by our today's presenter, Dr. Atiur Rahman, has moved forward and new initiatives been taken, and the draft has already been made, and also collateral-free transaction for the SME sector. The policies are underway, which Professor Dr. Mumtajuddin Ahmed also pointed out. The 3 points that he's always talking about is actually the key points that the SME sector should put the attention to. He's always talking about the definition issue, and he is always pushing everyone for e-commerce development so that this sector during the second wave or in the future can take the shock and continue their business activities. These are the supply chain management issues that we need to put our attention to, because this SME sector is actually a source of raw materials sometimes, and sometimes they produce the primary products for the finished market. So we need to give a lot of attention to this sector so that this supply chain is not disrupted. And for that, our Honorable Prime Minister was so intelligent in dealing with this that she never allowed the communication disruption. And that's why the supply was always in order, and the inflation that we worried about and the price hike that we were worried of actually never happened. So the economy is doing quite well, which our honorable keynote speaker, Dr. Atiur Rahman, pointed out. And I like the very important word that he took when Henry Kissinger spoke about Bangladesh. He was talking about a country which is a bottomless basket. And Professor Dr. Atiur Rahman rightfully responded by saying that this country from ashes is now heading toward prosperity, and actually is an example of a developing country. And from $8 billion to $350 billion plus economy within only 49 years is actually something that we should be proud of. And all these challenges that we took during these 49 years, SME sector has a huge contribution in this. And he also pointed out the SME growth, and he is a little bit upset because of the credit and the credit management, which is actually not reaching the unbanked. So he gave some suggestions and recommendation, though he praised the government efforts, the stimulus package issues, and the timely and flexible approaches of the government. But he has also reiterated that we should have better management in this regard. And SME Foundation, PKSF, and similar institutions actually can play a very good role in this regard. And we have to go through a collaborative approach, coordinated approach, as he has suggested, is actually a very important point that he has raised. And the policies, policy intervention, Bangladesh Bank's policy, the liquidity management issues that he has raised in his keynote speech is really something very important that we wanted to hear and listen. I would like to thank Honorable Bangabandhu Chair, Professor Dr. Atiur Rahman, for making such a wonderful presentation for us. The sector which is contributing the highest, almost the highest employment generation and job creation opportunity actually requires a very, actually requires attention. And so we hope the Honorable Chairman, Professor Dr. Mohammad Masudur Rahman, will take these issues forward that we have learned today from our webinar. And I would like to thank him for taking the initiative, along with the Honorable Managing Director, Mr. Muhammad Shafiqul Islam, and all other team members who worked hard in arranging this webinar for us, international webinar for us. I'd like to request Honorable Chairman, Chair of the session today, Professor Mohammad Masudur Rahman, to make his closing remarks for the first session. Professor Masudur Rahman.
Thank you, Professor Shibli Rubaidul Islam, for your very effective summarization of the today's discussion. As a chair, I'm just going to make some concluding remarks and want to thank the participant of our today's program. Our respected chief guest, Mr. Nurul Mojid Mahmud Humayun MP and Honorable Minister of Industries, People's Republic of Bangladesh. Keynote speakers, Professor Dr. Atiur Rahman, moderator of this session, Professor Shibli Rubaidul Islam, Ms. Tina Bloom, Resident Representative, FES Bangladesh, members of the Board of Directors of SME Foundation, distinguished discussant, SME entrepreneurs, journalists, guests of home and abroad, my colleagues at SME Foundation, Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon. At the beginning, I would like to pay my profound gratitude to the architect of independent Bangladesh, father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who has been the proudest reason for what we are today. I welcome this timely initiative of SME Foundation and FES Bangladesh to address the critical issues faced by SME entrepreneurs, caused specifically by COVID-19. SME Foundation and FES Bangladesh have been working for the development of SMEs for a couple of years. Both the organizations jointly have conducted a study on SME and arranged different types of workshops, which have been insightful and have been a sincere support for our capacity building. Ladies and gentlemen, SME Foundation is established by the government of Bangladesh through Ministry of Industry as an apex institution for SME development in the country. The SME are considered as vital engine of the because of their contribution to employment creation, income generation, higher productivity, innovation, technology transfer, poverty reduction, and overall economic growth. SMEs are typically labor-intensive industries and relatively low capital investment. About 7.8 million people benefit from employment opportunities through SMEs, and this sector contributes 25% of GDP of Bangladesh. SME have been playing important roles in the spirit of achieving Vision 2021 and assisting the country to become middle income economy, graduating from LDC by 2024, facilitating achievement of SDGs by 2030, and transforming the economy into a developed one by 2041, as is envisioned by our Honorable Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, it is evident that COVID-19-led pandemic has caused a substantial reduction in all forms of economic activities all over the world. In Bangladesh, micro, small, and medium enterprises are in a particularly vulnerable position. This is a big concern for Bangladesh since these enterprises will be strategically important for the economic recovery in the post-COVID-19 realities. COVID-19 has considerably affected the production, access to financing, particularly the working capital, supply chain activities, and access to market in relation to the SMEs. These are the prime challenges we need to overcome to regain the economic growth, both in the pandemic-lived realities and in the post-COVID-19 Bangladesh. To address this adversity, our Honorable Prime Minister has announced BD Dhaka 20,000 crore for the SMEs as stimulus package to sustain and recover business in this critical time. SME Foundation, along with B6, supports the government to disburse this package among the SME entrepreneurs. A greater involvement of SME Foundation in disbursing the financial support might facilitate involving the grassroots level stakeholder more effectively. SME Foundation has been providing different sorts of support to the SME entrepreneurs by arranging different skill development training and providing supports to market access, including counseling support to respective stakeholders during the COVID-19. More than 500 entrepreneurs have already received different skill development training. SME Foundation has been conducting several studies on the impacts of COVID-19 on different SME subsectors, which I believe will assist policymakers to formulate effective and timely policies. I hope the discussion of this webinar will be useful for the key stakeholders of SME as well as for the policymakers. The valuable insights and observation made by the keynote speaker, discussant, participant, and the panelists from home and abroad are important achievement of this webinar. This will help both SME Foundation and FES Bangladesh to conceptualize the COVID-19-led adversity in the context of SMEs in Bangladesh and to devise effective measures. I would like to convey my sincere gratitude and heartfelt appreciation to the Honorable Ministry of Industries, People's Republic of Bangladesh, for his kind presence and for sharing his valuable advice. I am also extending my deep appreciation to the keynote speaker, all discussant, panel member, the senior government officials, journalists from print and electronic media, and participants from home and abroad for their kind presence and valuable time. I believe these types of joint collaboration between SME Foundation and FES Bangladesh will strengthen the bonding of this organization and will make that to a new height. I wish everyone a safe time and thanks very much indeed. Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairman, and especially the chair of this session. It seems that with the help of everyone, we have managed our time very well, and we have perfectly finished as per our schedule. So we have a second session starting at 5:10 p.m. So we hope that you will be joining in that session also. In that session, the keynote paper will be presented by Mr. Michael Roschler, who is the Vice Chair of Craft Industry International, Baden, Germany. And we have a few more panel discussants in that session also. And we hope that this international webinar, with your participation in the second session, will be very interesting. And we hope you will help us in making this webinar successful by joining and participate. Thank you very much. Hope to see you at 5:10 in the same session. Thank you, Honorable Chair, for your concluding remarks. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Well done.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Valuable presence.
স্যার খুব সুন্দর লিখেছেন এই অল্প সময়ের মধ্যে। থ্যাংক ইউ।
তোমার প্রেসারে, it's because of you, you know, you put me so much under pressure that I had to perform.
না, আপনার আবার পারফর্ম করে এখন দেখানোর সময় আছে। You are just contributing. তো এখন খালি ডেলিভারি করেন আমাদের জন্য। And we learned a lot. Thank you, sir. এটা একটা পাবলিকেশন
সারা রাত কাজ করেছি।
পাবলিকেশন করা যায় কিন্তু যে আমাদের অস্ট্রেলিয়ার সাথে যে কাজটা করতেছি, ওনারা তো সেকেন্ড আরেকটা বই করতে চায়।
হ্যাঁ, এটা নিতে পারো, তুমি তো আমাকে লিখেছিল।
আমার মনে হয় স্যার এটাকে একটু টাচ করলে এটা ওইখানে একটা পাবলিকেশন হয়ে যেতে পারে, ইন্টারন্যাশনাল পাবলিকেশন। এবং সেটা
তুমি বললো যে স্যারের একটা কাজ অর্ধেক হয়েই রয়েছে, আমি একটু টাচ করে দেবনি।
জি স্যার, এটা টাচ করলেই কিন্তু এটা ওই বইতে চলে যেতে পারে। আগের বইটা কিন্তু বের হয়ে গেছে।
স্যার এখন তো ইনফর্মাল সেশন চলছে, স্যার ওই ছোটটা কি আরেকটু বলবো ইউএনডিপির বিষয়টা?
দাড়ি চুল কেটে তারপরে আইসো, এইভাবে এইসব সেমিনারে আসা যায় না। তোমাকে দেখে আমি তো চিনি নাই প্রথম, আমি তো ভাবছি যে
তোমাকে দেখে চিনাই যাচ্ছিল না।
না না, জঙ্গল থেকে আসছে মনে হচ্ছে।
স্যার ঘরের ভিতরে থাকলে এটা হয়ে যায়, কিন্তু
ঘরে
স্যার
থাকতে তোমাকে কে বলছে?
স্যার আমি তো বের হয়ে যাচ্ছি।
ঘরে বসে আছো, কাজ করো।
না স্যার, কাজ করছি আলহামদুলিল্লাহ। স্যার স্যার আমাদের একটা মজার বিষয় হচ্ছে, আমরা প্রায় মানে একটা সার্কুলার দিয়েছিলাম, তো প্রায় 600 জন অ্যাপ্লাই করেছিল, তো 120 জনের মতো ওদেরকে আমরা প্রায় 32 ঘন্টায় মানে প্রায় 40টার মতো স্পিকারকে দিয়ে আমরা ট্রেন করেছি। তো প্রত্যেকটা জেলাতে আমরা ওদেরকে একটা ডিস্ট্রিক্টের উপর ম্যাপিং করব যে সিএসএমই সেক্টর নিয়ে, এবং ওখানে স্যার 3টা বিষয় নিয়ে আমি যেটা বলছিলাম যে স্যার ওদের কথাগুলো আমরা শুনবো, এবং যেটা অনেকে বলছিল যে এই যে প্যাকেজটা আলোচনা হয়েছে, তো আমরা ফোন দিচ্ছিলাম, তো ওখানে কিন্তু স্যার মানে জানে না। তো পরে বাংলাদেশ ব্যাংকের ইডি যিনি আছেন আবু ফারহান নাসের, ওনাকে আমরা বলেছিলাম আসার জন্য, তো উনি এসেছেন, উনি এসে শেয়ার করেছেন। সো একটা বড় বিষয় হচ্ছে স্টোরিগুলোকে কালেক্ট করা, সেই স্টোরিগুলোকে পলিসির সাথে কানেক্ট করা, এন্ড দেন এটার সাথে সাপ্লাই চেইনের লিঙ্ক করা। সো মানে হোপফুলি মোস্ট ইম্পর্টেন্টলি হচ্ছে স্যার মানে আমি যে ইয়ুথদের যে অ্যাক্টিভ সিটিজেনশিপ 64 জনকে আমরা পেইড ইন্টার্নশিপ দিব, বাট বাকি সবাই স্যার মানে ভলেন্টারিলি কাজ করতে চায়। আর লাস্ট যেটা বলছি স্যার যে আমরা 4টা যে রিসার্চ পেপার কাজ করতে চাচ্ছি, আমি এসএমই ফাউন্ডেশনের সাথে হয়তো ফলো আপ করবো। নাজিম ভাই আমাদের একটা সেশনে ছিলেন এখানে, নাজিম সাত্তার ভাই। তো আমরা ওই যে কোন 4টা এরিয়া রিসার্চ গুলা করবো একটু আর একটু ভালো হলে স্যার আপনাদের থেকে একটু ফলো আপ নেবো আর কি।
রাশেদ, এখানে অনেকে ইংরেজি জানা মানুষও তোমার কথা শুনছে, সুতরাং
ওকে ওকে আচ্ছা 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 আপনি স্যার
আমরা যেভাবে বাংলায় কথা বলছি।
আচ্ছা স্যার, আমরা একটু ব্রেক নেই স্যার, আমি একটু ফ্রেশ হয়ে আসি, আবার 2 ঘন্টা তো ফাঁকে একটু কাজের ফাইল টেল গুলো ছেড়ে নেই। স্যার 10 মিনিটের মধ্যে জয়েন করছি স্যার।
থ্যাংক ইউ।
ওকে স্যার, সি ইউ।
ওকে
আতিয়ার স্যারকে বিশেষ ধন্যবাদ।
আচ্ছা ধন্যবাদ। হ্যাঁ
স্যার কেমন আছেন? আতিয়ার স্যার আপনি কেমন আছেন?
আছি ভালো। কে? ওকে
বলছি স্যার।
হ্যাঁ কেমন আছেন আপনি? অনেকদিন পরে দেখলাম আপনাকে।
ভালো। পুরনো ছবিগুলো দেখি আপনার সাথে আমার অনেক
ভালো। It's really good to see you after so many years.
Yeah.
Virtually though, but still.
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, অনেকদিন পরে দেখা হলো তোমাদের সাথে।
জি জি জি, আপনার প্রেজেন্টেশন ওয়াজ রিয়েলি ইনফরমেটিভ, মানে খুব কাজে লাগবে আমাদের সবারই, স্পেশালি ফর দ্য এসএমই সেক্টর।
এটা একটা পেপারও দিয়েছি আমি, few thousand words পেপার, এটা আমার ইয়েকে দিয়েছি, এসএমই ফাউন্ডেশন কে।
I will definitely get a copy. আমার অনেক রেফারেন্সের জন্য লাগবে, অনেক ইনফরমেশন আছে এটার মধ্যে।
শফিক পেপার দেখেছো শফিক? হ্যাঁ,
আর আমি ওই যে আপনার পেপারটা পাওয়ার সঙ্গে সঙ্গে আমি একবার
ডিস্ট্রিবিউশনে চলে
মান্তাসা, খবর কি?
হ্যাঁ,
Congratulations to you too. আপনি কোথায়? Are you in Dhaka?
Yes.
Okay.
অবস্থা আপনি ভালো? প্রোগ্রামটা খুব ভালো হচ্ছে, জার্মানি প্রোগ্রামটা।
Germany program went well. হ্যাঁ, it was very good.
Very good. I'm so happy. Very nice.
জিয়াবাকে সালাম দিচ্ছি।
মুন্না ভাই আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
ভালো আছেন আপা?
হাসিনা আপা আসসালামু আলাইকুম। মুন্না ভাই আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
আপা
আসসালাম।
আপনার সম্মতি দরকার আছে, তাহলে আমরা সময় সময় স্যার আপনাকে আরো
এমডি সাহেবকে সালাম জানাচ্ছি। আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
আমাদের নতুন চেয়ারপারসন কি আছেন এখানে নাকি উনি
শোনা যাচ্ছে না শফিক, তোমার কথা শোনা যাচ্ছে না। দেখুন
আর এখন শোনা যায় স্যার?
হ্যাঁ, এমডি সাহেব কথা বল।
এখন কি শোনা যায় স্যার?
আপা আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম, কেমন আছেন আপনি? থ্যাংক ইউ, আপনি নারীদের কথা সবসময় বলেই যাচ্ছেন, স্লোগান দিয়ে যাচ্ছেন। থ্যাংক ইউ, থ্যাংক ইউ।
বলেছি তো।
থ্যাংক ইউ।
শুনতে পাচ্ছেন?
হ্যাঁ শুনছি। হ্যাঁ শফিক,
ওই যে আপনার সম্মতি নিয়ে রাখছি স্যার, আগামীতেও কিন্তু একটু সময়ে সময়ে আমরা আপনাকে একটু বিরক্ত করব, কারণ আজকে আমাদের যেভাবে মেহনত করে আপনি এটা তৈরি করে দিয়েছেন, তাতে করে স্যার মনে হয় যে আমাদের এই বিরক্তি করা ছাড়া বিকল্প হাতে পাচ্ছি না।
না না, আমি তো পাবলিক প্রপার্টি, যখনই যা চাইবে সঙ্গে সঙ্গে পাবে, কোনো অসুবিধা নেই।
ওয়ান্ডারফুল। আর বিশেষ করে পেপারটা তো আমি তারপরে প্রেজেন্টেশনটা খুবই লাইভলি এবং খুবই সহজবোধ্য থাকায় স্যার কানে লাগলোই না, একবারে কানে ধারণ করতে পারলাম।
আমি
জায়গাতে একটু বিন্দু
পেপারটা এক দেড় ঘন্টার মধ্যে প্রিপারেশন করতে হয়েছে প্রেজেন্টেশনটা, সেই জন্য তারা হুড়া করে আমি যা পারেছি, কিন্তু পেপারটা ওয়াজ গুড, পেপারটা অনেক অনেক বড় এবং অনেক অনেক ডিটেইলড হয়েছে
জি, এবং ধারণ করাটাও ইজি হয়েছে।
স্যার আসছে আমাদের কাছে যে আপনি স্যার ওই যে ফর্মাল ব্যাংক বেসড যে অ্যাক্সেস টু ফিনান্সের 20,000 কোটি টাকার বাইরে
পেপার পেয়েছো তাই না?
2,000 কোটি টাকার যে স্যার একটা ব্যাপার আছে, যেটা পিকেএস এর কর্মসংস্থান সহ
চারটা ব্যাংক, তিনটা ব্যাংক এবং পিকেএস এর,
সেখানে আমরা মনে হয় স্যার যে আপনি বলছেন যে আনসার গ্রুপকে কিন্তু এরা কিছুটা হলেও উপকৃত করতে পারবে।
আনসার ভিডিবির জন্য আলাদা প্যাকেজ করেছে বাংলাদেশ ব্যাংকের। আমি বলেছিলাম যে তোমরা আনসার ভিডিবির জন্য আলাদা একটা প্যাকেজ করো, আমি যতটুকু জানি দে হ্যাভ ডান অ্যানাদার প্যাকেজ ফর আনসার ভিডি।
আমার মনে হয় স্যার যে ওই এট দ্য মোমেন্ট
এবং আনসার ভিডিবির মধ্যে নারীরা অনেক বেশি ইম্পর্টেন্ট।
অরিজিৎ বাবুকে অনুরোধ করতে পারি, এবং স্যার আপনি যদি অ্যাডভোকেসি করেন যে আমাদের এসএমই ফাউন্ডেশনের মাধ্যমে ক্লাস্টার ফাইন্যান্সিংটা যদি করে, যেমন পিকেএসএফ এর মাধ্যমে একটি ওয়ান্ডারফুল উদ্যোগ নেওয়া হয়েছে, কর্মসংস্থানের মাধ্যমে নেওয়া হয়েছে, তো যদি পিকেএসএফ এর অনুরোধ প্রতিষ্ঠান হিসেবে এসএমই সেট আপ করেছে, তো সেদিক থেকে আবার মনে হয় স্যার এখন আমাদের ক্রেডিট হোলসেলিং এর যে এক্সপেরিয়েন্সটা তৈরি হয়েছে, তাতে আমরা ক্লাস্টার ফাইন্যান্সিং এবং অ্যাসোসিয়েশন ফাইন্যান্সিং এই দুটো স্যার মিলিয়ে আমরা ওই 5 নাম্বার প্রতিষ্ঠান হতে পারি। চারটা প্রতিষ্ঠানকে ইনক্লুড করা হয়েছে।
এটা তো করাই যায়, আমি জানি না এসএমই ফাউন্ডেশনের যদি
স্যার এটা আমাদের ওই ক্রেডিট হোলসেলিং এর এক্সপেরিয়েন্সটা খুবই স্যার এনকারেজিং, যে এখানে আমাদের রাজ্জাক সাহেবকে দেখলাম, মুন্না সাহেব তো আছেনই, যে আমরা প্রায় 2,000 এন্টারপ্রেনারকে আমরা স্যার ফান্ড দিয়েছি এবং এনপিএল রেট ইজ লেস দেন 1। আমরা
না সেটা সবারই কথা।
আর স্যার
যদি ইফ ইউ হ্যাভ আ ম্যান্ডেট এন্ড ইফ ইউ হ্যাভ দ্য এক্সপেরিয়েন্স, তাহলে তো করাই যায়।
স্যার করা যায় স্যার,
হ্যাঁ।
তো এখন স্যার আপনার অ্যাডভোকেসি লাগবে। আপনার যে
PKSF is a foundation, so you are also a foundation. You have to do it